are going to be making sure that we're held accountable and that we hold the teams accountable. Because what we now need to do is make sure they have the resources that are necessary to implement those 96 things, and to make sure that as far as possible the expectations that have been raised by that strategy, we're not going to have any more strategies, are met. And the first thing we need to do is put into place the project team and the project structures to make that happen. I think most of you will know that this has been led by Callie Palmer from the Royal Marsden, and she has a team to actually achieve this. I think it's also pretty well known that that team has now been set up to deliver the 96 recommendations in 6 work streams, and they're all allocated to one of those: prevention, early diagnosis, commissioning, high quality modern services, patient experience, which is very important, and a work stream on living with and beyond cancer. So all of those 96 activities have been grouped into a structure. We are resourcing what Callie needs in order to deliver this. There's an implementation board and an advisory board, as shown on that slide. And it may well be that there's people in this room that are on that advisory board, and I say to you, hold that team to account, and by that, us, if you like, the Department of Health, ministers, the government, to getting these 96 things delivered. I suppose the way that I'm getting myself involved and interjected into this process is around what we call the most high priority of those 96 activities. Effectively, Callie and her team have grouped the 20 or so most high priority activities into 15 that are really super high priority. And she briefs myself and Jeremy Hunt on progress on those in terms of milestones, in terms of delivery. And indeed, I think this should be a transparent process, because this is of national importance, the way and the success that we have of delivering this. The whole thing is monitored as well, and the slide shows that, by the Transformation Board, and it's very important that we make this happen now. Just in terms of those work streams, if you like, and I just put this up not because I want you to read it, but because it gives a sense of the importance of a couple of those streams. These are the reporting mechanisms that are being used. I think one of the ones that this talks about is that of cancer alliances, and the setting up of those cancer alliances, which is the mechanism on the ground, if I where the rubber hits the road, in a sense, of holding CCGs to account, and making sure that we do get delivery. And that's an example of the progress reporting, if you like, that we get from Callie and her team against those 20 high priority areas that we're monitoring, as I say, very, very carefully indeed. Because, judge and jury is the extent to which we are able now to make this happen. So just to perhaps talk in terms of the implementation roles, I mentioned the alliances and the various 16 cancer alliances now that have been set up. One of the most important things I think has happened in this space in the last 3 months is the publication for the first time of CCG level data of performance against 4 indicators that we established. And there was press around that, and I think Harper has talked to me about this, Kumar, and he was involved in the evaluation, and I think it was quite tough on the CCGs, and rightly so, in terms of how many were regarded as being requires improvement or inadequate. But for the first time, people can look at their own CCG, their own geography, and their own GP group or the group that they're in, and see how they're doing against the 62-day target, against the 1-year survival versus other CCGs and nationally, and what percentage of cancers are now having early diagnosis and how good the patient experience is in that area. Because when you look back on the story that I told at the very start of colleagues speaking to me frequently about configuration changes in hospitals and location of A&E and valid concerns like that, one of the reasons I don't get the same questions about cancer performance has been the data hasn't been available in a transparent way to have those questions asked. And I think we're now able to do that, and it's important that we can make that happen. The diagram also shows the location of the 4 cancer vanguards that NHS England are driving. I'm not going to speak about those a lot, I don't know whether you've covered that already today. 3 in London and 1 in Manchester, and the focus of those really optimising pathways, driving and making this early diagnosis thing work in a way that we hope, once it can be proved, in terms of step function change, will be able to be rolled out right across the country. We also talk about the STPs, and I've referred to that. That is the vehicle, and there is a lot of discussion about that in terms of secret plans. They're not secret, but they are expected to drive better care in a number of areas, and one of those is cancer. And one of the vehicles and mechanisms the government will be using in terms of making sure that NHS England make progress is through this, and it's exactly the same on mental health availability. And where areas are behind, and where CCGs do need to make progress in terms of early diagnosis and some of the things that we just talked about, the cancer alliances have that accountability, they have the expertise, and they will have availability, the ability to apply for transformation funding. I just want to talk very briefly about a number of areas of sort of big priority to us. And one I've mentioned several times, early diagnosis. This is the holy grail, really, of making progress right across the piece in cancer. We know that the one cancer target that we have the most difficulty in meeting is the 62 days from referral to treatment. That one has been consistently missed. NHS England and Simon Stevens, I think, may have announced it today at this conference, are investing a considerable amount of money in a 28-day cancer target, which is that you will be given the all-clear or a initial treatment, the all-clear or diagnosis 28 days from a GP referral. And if we can make that happen, and we're piloting it now in Ipswich, East Lancashire, Leeds, Kingston and Bournemouth, if we can make that happen, that really will be a big step forward. Staffing is important, and there are staffing issues. Not enough radiologists and not enough endocopists. I don't pronounce that right, do I? But we have put into place a recruitment drive for both of those. I'm accountable to that with Health Education England, and we are and will make progress on it. We know that prevention and behaviour is important. People will be aware of the Be Clear on Cancer campaigns that we've had next year. We're rolling out one on abdominal symptoms. But the public, I think, increasingly understand the links between obesity, between alcohol consumption as well as smoking. And we are seeing behaviours changing very slowly, certainly in terms of smoking. And we would expect, we haven't really seen it yet, to have that coming through in some of the prognosis and survival numbers that we see. And I think Simon Stevens also announced earlier today the location of the linear accelerators, which hospitals and which parts of the country we're going to get those over the next 2 years. And that is a very important part of what we're trying to do here. But I don't think my last slide is there. No, okay. Well, what my last slide said is that in the end, though, we will be judged in terms of the success of the implementation of this strategy by how we do against European benchmarks. The slide I put on at the start, showing us behind many countries in Europe, and probably behind the average performance for most cancer types isn't adequate. And at the end of this strategy, we need to have made progress on that. And in particular, and this is something that John Mallon has said to me many times, is that there is a tendency for us to talk about progress in terms of input measures. An input measure that may be a good thing, like more radiologists or more linear accelerators, but in the end, we need to judge ourselves on output measures. And that means a step change in 1 year, 5 year and 10 year survival percentages, and that's what we're determined to do. So thank you very much.